The night air sliced against her lungs as Alina ran, barefoot, bruised, desperate. Her heartbeat thundered louder than the footsteps behind her. She didn't have time to think, only to flee. Street lights flickered and died just as she passed under them, plunging the road into eerie darkness. She didn't know where she was anymore. All she knew was that if she slowed down, even for a second, she would never see tomorrow. Behind her, the men's voices tore through the silence. They had found her. Again, Alina had spent the last 2 months working at a quiet roadside diner trying to rebuild her life after escaping a controlling and dangerous fiancé who refused to let her go. Tonight, he came with 2 others, dragging her out of the diner's back door and into the alley. She had fought, kicked, clawed, and in a moment of sheer survival she'd slipped free and bolted toward the open highway. Her feet slapped the asphalt, her breath breaking in sharp gasps. She didn't realize she was running toward them, the Iron Guardians, a biker group known in the town for their intimidating looks, loud engines, and strict code of honor. People whispered about them, feared them, respected them. But Alina didn't know any of that in this moment. All she saw were silhouettes of massive men near their bikes, parked outside a closed auto shop. She didn't think, she just ran straight toward them. When the Guardians turned and saw her, they thought she was just a girl running in panic. But the moment they saw who was behind her, everything changed. The leader, a broad-shouldered man named Bear, stepped forward, his jaw tightening. Alina stumbled at his feet, barely able to speak. Bear crouched down, his voice deep but surprisingly gentle. "Who's after you?" Before she could answer, the 3 men chasing her burst into view. One of them pointed at her. "She's ours. Move." Bear rose slowly. He wasn't smiling. He wasn't blinking. He wasn't moving aside. Behind him, the rest of the Iron Guardian stood up, one by one. 11 men, leather jackets, heavy boots, eyes cold as steel. Alina, trembling, tried to back away, but Bear placed a steadying hand on her shoulder. "You're safe. No one's touching you again." The man leading the attackers tried to laugh. "This is between us and her. Don't make it your problem." "It became my problem," Bear said, "the moment she ran into my line of sight." What happened next felt like a storm. The attackers charged, but the Guardians didn't hesitate. They stepped forward with a quiet, deadly calm. The confrontation was fast and brutal but controlled. The bikers fought with precision, protecting Alina like she was one of their own. Within minutes, the attackers lay on the ground, defeated and gasping. Bear called the police immediately, refusing to let the men escape accountability. As officers arrived, Alina clung to the sleeve of his jacket, afraid that once again the system might fail her. But Bear stayed beside her, his presence strong, reassuring, unshakable. Later, after giving her statement, Alina sat with the Guardians inside their garage. Someone wrapped her feet. Someone else handed her warm tea. No one asked prying questions. They simply gave her space to breathe. For the first time in a long time, she felt safe. Over the next days, Bear and the Guardians helped her retrieve her belongings from the diner, helped her find a secure place to stay, and even connected her with legal aid. They didn't do it for praise. They did it because she needed it, and because they believed in protecting those who couldn't protect themselves. But Alina's biggest challenge wasn't the men who had chased her that night. It was learning to trust again. Every sudden sound made her flinch. Every shadow made her heart race. She feared she was broken beyond repair. Bear noticed. "Healing isn't a race," he told her one evening. "You run when you need to, but you also rest when you have to." Slowly, Alina began rebuilding herself. She took a new job. She made friends. She joined the Guardians at community events, surprised by how gentle and humble these huge men were. They became like a strange, protective family. But the final breakthrough came one afternoon when she watched Bear help a little boy fix a bike. The child looked up at him with admiration. Bear smiled softly, and Alina felt something inside her shift. She realized she wasn't afraid anymore. Months passed, and the memories of the night she ran for her life became distant, no longer controlling her. She had faced her trauma, rebuilt her strength, and found people who stood by her without asking anything in return. When she stood at the edge of the highway where everything had changed, she knew she was no longer the same girl. She whispered into the wind, "I survived." And she did more than survive. She rose, because sometimes the right people see you when the world tries to break you. Sometimes the ones everyone fears turn out to be the ones who save you. And sometimes the moment you think your life is over becomes the moment it truly begins.